Hi, my name is David Sellinger, and I'm joined by Roger Stager, and we are sharing a quick state-by-state analysis that we did, which is using the most recently released data from the World Health Organization and the CSSE to analyze what would be different if we, instead of analyzing the United States, we analyze it by state. Instead of analyzing the whole country, we analyzed it by state. And the real goal being, hey, we keep seeing this curve, but nobody ever tells us what this number is, right? What's the capacity of our healthcare system? And so what we did was we gathered, and by the way, does it look like this? Is it super, super short? And so we gathered data on a state-by-state basis to say, hey, here's how many people in each of these states are infected. And by the way, if you are in one of these bright states, you're quite a bit further ahead in the curve in terms of your infections than other states. Our goal for doing this is to compel states and individuals to act, because it doesn't take 100% of the population to get sick to overwhelm the system. That's what that curve kind of means, is that there's a capacity. And so what we did is we analyzed that capacity and looked at the growth rate on a per state basis to say, hey, when does each state need to act before they run out of beds? And so obviously we're going to be really transparent about the caveats of our analysis. We know that testing is still something that's being developed in the US, so we have to deal with the data that we have. That said, we believe that even though there's some volatility because of the lack of testing in the US, that there are useful conclusions that we can draw. And again, act decisively and act early without having to panic. And to kind of show you the first bit of that analysis, we created a little animation here that shows here's how fast this disease is moving on a state-by-state basis. The color represents how many cases there were. This is on the 10th. And there were a lot of states that only had a couple cases 5 days ago, 6 days ago. And here's how fast this thing is changing. And so each of those states that's getting into these brighter colors, what we've learned by looking at Italy, China, South Korea, is that once you pass about 100 cases, it takes broad-based, serious, decisive action to put a stop to this disease. And so what we wanted to do was, again, communicate what's the reason for that? Why do we have to do that? If the death rate's so low, or it's like a bad flu, why do we have to take decisive action? Why was the action taken in California to issue a shelter-in-place order for 6 counties? Why was that the right thing? And this is the reason why. So we did the math. We pulled down all the information about how many hospital beds there are in each state. We computed what the growth rate was of cases in each of these states. We computed how many ICU beds were going to be left. And what we found was that pretty much every state in the nation, with the exception of West Virginia, which doesn't have any cases yet, but pretty much every state in the nation, unless they're able to put a stop to this, if it continues growing at 30% every single day, they run out of room in their ICUs literally in weeks. Some of them are running out, as you can see here, in around 10 days or less. And because this is a disease where exponential growth is not something that you or I deal with on a normal basis, where something grows by 30% every day, what that means is it doubles every 2 days. It grows by 10x in the course of a week. So while, yes, maybe there's 1,000 cases today, there are 10,000 cases at the end of this week. There are 100,000 cases the week after that. Roger, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. And then 1 million 3 weeks later. So it grows very quickly.
And what we're coming to learn in America is that our ICU resources and our ventilators are much more limited resources than what we thought. And so it does really take decisive action. We do want to be really clear. We're statisticians here. We're not trying to get into policy. We do recognize that this does affect those things, but we also don't want people to panic. And when it gets to the point that the ICUs are filled, we believe that is when people will really panic. And so we're trying to release this into the world to say, hey, please take action sooner rather than later, even if that's statewide or individual action. Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, well, the point there was that since this is growing 10x per week, any actions that you take now will not affect the rates until a week or 2 weeks later. So by the time your actions have an effect, the situation will be 10 to 100 times worse than it is today. So inherently, you need to act before it feels like it's serious. You need to act quickly.
So again, we are statisticians. We're releasing this. We didn't see anyone else analyzing these data on a state-by-state basis. Therefore, we're taking what we think is a socially responsible act of doing our absolute best at analyzing this and releasing it into the open source. You will find more information if you look for this study. We are providing all of our analysis. We're providing all of our data, all of our code in the open source. And so if somebody sees a way to do this better, they see a better analysis of this, we encourage them to take those steps. We've done this with good faith and done our best to release this. But again, our goal to do that is we do believe that action is necessary. We believe decisive action is necessary. And we believe that we'll all benefit if we take that decisive action sooner than later.
That's right. Be decisive, act quick. You don't have to wait for your government to do it. And depending on your risk group, how severely you want to isolate yourself. Elderly people, high risk groups should isolate completely.
All right. Stay healthy out there. We hope everyone does everything they can to take care of themselves, take care of your family. Don't panic. Panic won't help anyone, but do take action. All right. With love for all.